I don't want her to come up here while it starts. This part over with before. Oh, should be one. Aaron. Hey, look out for this. Yeah. It's fine. Phone instructions. We'll call this meeting, the Clarksville-Montgomery County School Board, in session. If you would, rise in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll call on the Point of Pride's Awards, Anthony Johnson.
There we go. Good evening, board. All right, as you can see, we have several points of pride tonight. I want to apologize in advance. There's a lot of names. I'm going to try not to mispronounce, but if I do, if you'll just kind of whisper to Jessica or I'll try to correct it. But if I could have first the Montgomery Central Middle School cheerleading team, their coaches and administrators to please come forward. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is our first middle school team ever to place at a national competition. So these ladies here were finalists in the 2026 UCA National Cheerleading Championship in the large junior high intermediate division. The student athletes include Olivia French, Alaha Haley, Abigail Leo, Layla Lewis, Amber Nebelit, Alyssa Jarecki, Riley Hatmaker, Jenna Caudle, Ashlyn Chambers, Eliza Henley, Hayden Allen, Audrina Ull, Bailey Silk, Paisley Hill, Katie Perry, Caroline Rush, Sadie Shawver, Ava Walter, and their coaches, Leah Dillard and Carrie Britt. Congratulations. Alasia, sorry. All right, and next we've got two JROTC teams. We're going to start first, if I could have the Kenwood High School JROTC robotics team to please come forward along with their coach and any administrator representatives. So we've got one fresh, hot off the presses for this team. But first, let me announce, several weeks ago, they won first place in the 2026 7th Brigade Robotics Championship. And I've told you before, 7th Brigade is several states, so they won first place there. And then just at the beginning of spring break, they placed third in the 2026 Tennessee State Robotics Championship. So cadets Tian Lizo, Marilyn Petit, Say Alongzo, Kyson Gray, and their coach, Lieutenant Hugo Jackson. Congratulations to all of you on both of your wins. Oh.
They're coming in.
They're coming, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Here they are. Congratulations again, Kenwood. Next, if I could have the West Creek High School JROTC marksmanship team, along with their coach and any administrator representatives to please come forward. A few weeks ago, this team placed first in the 2026 Tennessee State High School three-position, three-par air rifle championship. Woo! Cadets on this team include Brentley Armstrong, who also placed third place individually, Gwyneth Barham, who placed 5th place individually, Ariel Gutierrez, who placed 2nd place individually, and Neela Romero, who placed 4th place. Sergeant First Class, retired, Joe Slate is their coach. Congratulations. All right, so now, you all know we've got some great wrestling programs, so we've got quite a few. I'm going to call them up by boys and girls. We do have a few full teams here who placed, but we also have several individuals. We're going to start first with the Clarksville High School boys team. Our boys, anybody who's a coach or administrator representative, to please come forward. If you're here, perfect. And the individual that's here with us tonight is Aiden Rowe, who was 3rd place in the boys 132 at the state TSSAA Wrestling Championship. Congratulations, Aiden. All right, and next, if I could have the girls' team, along with their coach and administrator representatives, to please come forward. So, this one, we've got some girls, the team awards, and then we have individuals. I'm going to go ahead and read the awards that the team won and the names, and then I will ask the individuals when I call their name to raise their hand to be recognized. So the team overall in the state championship got 2 second-place titles. 2nd place in the 2026 TSSAA Girls Dual Wrestling State Championship, and 2nd place in the 2026 TSSAA Girls Individual Wrestling State Championship. So 2 second-place state titles. Student athletes include Alea Allen, Madeline Carlisle, Macy Delafield. Yes, let's give them a hand for the award first. Yes. So Alayla Allen, Madeline Carlisle, Macy Delafield, Jaslyn DeGhost, Amber Dufour, Kaylee Durham, Alexandra Erb, Maya Ermanelli, Millie Hoback, Sierra Hoy, Emma Husser, Ava Johnson, Sally Johnson, Chloe Camerlin, Elisa Michelanco, Elizabeth Nelson, LaCour Obermuller, Valeria Ortiz, Tatiana Pena Corona, Sheanne Phelan, Angel Robles, Allison Valesco, Evelyn Valesco, Lovely Watkins, Sanaya Whiteside, and Ava Ziegler, along with their coaches Doug Badon, David Johnson, Sean Manholland, Cole McCartney, Colleen Powers, and Santoya Ransom. Now, for our individuals, if you'll raise your hand, Sally Johnson, who was our state champion in the girls 165. Not here, but state champion. Alexandra Erb, 2nd place in girls 100. Tatiana Pena Corona, 2nd place in the girls 114. Ava Johnson, 2nd place in the girls 145. Emma Hoster, 3rd place in the girls 152. Calais Durham, 5th place in the girls 185. And Chloe Camerlin, 6th place in the girls 107. Congratulations again, ladies. All right, and next, Kirkwood High, I just want to make sure they let me know they wouldn't be able to attend due to conflicts, just making sure they're not here. Okay, so we're still going to recognize from Kirkwood High School, we had Luke Luzensky, who placed 2nd place in the boys 157, and from the girls, Ella McCohen, 3rd place in the girls 100. Congratulations to Kirkwood High School. And next is Montgomery Central High School, which is having their banquet tonight. And the boys from that team will still recognize them anyway. Boys, Wesley Suttereth, 3rd place in the boys 106. Tamarion Johnson, 2nd place in the boys 150. And the girls, Audrey Lewandowski, 2nd place in the girls 152. Congratulations to them. All right, Northwest High School, if I could have coaches, administrative representatives come forward. From Northwest High School girls team, Angelina Rosario placed 3rd place in the girls 235. Congratulations, Angelina. All right, congratulations. And next, Rossview High School. if Nevada Wildheart is here, along with her coaches and administrative representatives. Nevada Wildheart was the state champion in the girls 126. Congratulations, Nevada. All right, and let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. No. All right, next, if I could have the West Creek High School girls wrestling team, along with their coaches and administrative representatives, please come forward. All right, so the West Creek High School girls team placed third in the 2026 TSSAA Girls Individual Wrestling State Championship. The student athletes on this team include Darcy Aguilar, Kiara Emerson, Gabriela Barzola Rodriguez, Mariana Bowen, Emilia Contreras, Lexi Dean, Rosie Lagunas Rogel, Elizabeth Lauren, Ireland Lauren, Jody Liu, Sophie McGee, Clarissa Morales, Corey Redding, Mackenzie Simons, Anaya Wakefield, Amaya Everett, their coaches John Nicolai, Jen Binkley, Dominico Bowen, Bo Roberts, and Rosianna Voss. So congratulations to the team on the third place, and then I'll give individuals. So, and Mariana Bowen, I heard this may be, what title? What title is this? How many times? 4. This is your 4th state championship title. 4th title. She is the state champion in the girls 138. Congratulations on that. Ireland Lauren, 2nd place in the girls 165. And Lexi Dean, 3rd place in the girls 132. All right. Congratulations, everyone. I know this is a lot to celebrate. And that concludes this evening. Well, we're going to get, did you get the picture? Okay, perfect. This concludes this evening's Point of Pride. Thank you. Appropriate to ask them to go ahead and leave, take their conversation outside.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to our public conversation. We have been made aware of some accusations online, and I will remind everyone in attendance that no person will, this has been voted on previously by the previous board, no person will present orally or discuss at any open meeting of the school board complaints against individual employees of the school district on matters involving disciplinary action against employees or students until all administrative requirements related to employee grievances or student disciplinary matters have been followed. This time we'll call on Megan Wise. Turn your microphone on by pressing the silver button. The timer will display on the microphone on the screen to show your allotted time. Your microphone will turn red to show it's active. The microphone light will flash during the last minute of allotted time. After 5 minutes, the microphone will be shut off automatically. You may proceed.
Good evening. I thought about coming up here tonight and doing something a little performative, something that reflected the silence that we continue to see from this board on issue after issue. But the truth is, I care far too much about our children and our educators to stay quiet. I come to you as a parent, as the wife of an educator, and as an advocate who works closely with families across this district. One of your own board members introduced legislation that would dismantle collaborative conferencing here in Tennessee. Mayberry has mentioned this process only represents a select few educators. He told us most districts don't even use it. Thankfully, that bill has been defeated in committee last week, and I'm grateful for that outcome. But that does not erase the fact that it was introduced at the beginning of February, and for over a month, while he was actively legislating for this bill, the rest of the board said nothing. Not a single public position, not a single statement of support or opposition, and that matters. Because what he hasn't addressed is what this bill actually does and how it would have impacted the educators in our district. It explicitly would have allowed the Board of Education to refuse a professional employee's request to meet at a reasonable time, to confer, consult, discuss, and exchange information about the terms and conditions of their work. That's not collaboration, that's the removal of our teachers' voices. And when you remove their voice, you remove your early warning system. You lose the ability to address problems before they become crises, you lose trust, and you lose good educators. We've already seen the impact of strained support in special education. When services aren't delivered with fidelity, when staff are overwhelmed, and when compliance begins to slip, not because people don't care, but because they're unsupported. So I have to ask, what is your position? Because the only voice we hear on this board is Aaron Mayberry, and he has made it clear that he doesn't want to hear from our teachers. Your silence is not neutral. Silence in this case is compliance. You were elected to represent educators, students, and their families. That requires transparency, even when it's uncomfortable. And I know this board has said before that you prefer to criticize in private and praise in public. That may work in the workplace, but not when you're elected officials. Your responsibility is not to handle concerns quietly behind closed doors. Your responsibility is to the public, to the families, educators, and taxpayers who elected you. When issues impact this district, especially at the state, and when one of your own members is leading that effort, our community deserves to know where you stand. At the same time, we're seeing additional legislation introduced, this time around honorifics. Based on what Mayberry himself has described as a negative experience with a single CMCSS educator. One educator, your educator. That raises a serious question about priorities, because when one adult has a negative experience, legislation is written. But when students in this district experience harm, real harm, the board remains silent. By now, our community has heard of the most recent educators to cross the line with a student. Again, the board has said nothing, but this isn't about one situation. When one child has had their hair pulled, their mouth clamped and screamed at, the board remained silent. When one child is shown material that is inappropriate, they have remained silent. When one child was physically forced to the ground during an incident that should have been de-escalated by a principal, there is silence. Over and over again, these are framed as isolated incidents. One child, one situation. But patterns don't form for nothing, and at some point, calling these single issues stops being accurate and becomes avoidance. Right now, the message being sent by the board is this: if it's uncomfortable, stay quiet. If it's controversial, stay quiet. If it requires accountability, stay quiet. That's not leadership. Supporting educators means giving them a voice, not actively legislating to take it away. Supporting families means being transparent, even when it's difficult. So tonight, I'm asking the board to do its job. State your position on legislation that removes our teachers' voices and impacts our schools. Commit to transparency when student safety is at risk. And start showing this community that you're willing to lead, not just remain silent. And to our community, the board is accountable to us, so we need to stand up in order for us to hold them accountable. Don't settle for silence, demand transparency and answers. Because our children, our educators, and our families deserve better than silence. Thank you.
Okay. Karen England,
Good evening. Sorry for my voice.
push your microphone, please, for your timer.
Press. I gave you all a packet. I want to talk about the sexualization of our kids here at CMCSS. I've been before you before, but I wanted to give you a packet of information as to how you're out of compliance with state law And this has been brought to your attention more than once, more than twice, more than 5 times. In 2022, there was a law passed called the Age Appropriate Materials Act. It said every library materials are appropriate for students' age and maturity level. It prohibits materials containing sexual content and excessive violence. On August 11th, the director of schools received a letter from the legal counsel at the Department of Education telling them what, as a school district, what you needed to do. That letter, and you said, the policy must include procedures to develop, periodically review, and evaluate feedback regarding the library collection to ensure it's appropriate for the age and maturity levels of the school or aligns with your educational mission. It also told you, as the law said, that you need to remove materials deemed not to meet the criteria I just said. So sexually explicit conduct, they added nudity in 2024. So instead of going and curating the books, you guys went ahead and your policy as of 7/23 was created. And it does not align with state law, but it aligns with the American Library Association. It has no age restrictions. The American Library Association, there are states, Wyoming, Texas, all of these states are disassociating with the American Library Association. But unfortunately, you guys are going with their policy. Their policy says all people of all ages should have equal, equitable access to library resources and services. The American Library Association opposes any efforts to restrict access based on age. Policies and procedures that prevent minors from accessing the same resource and services as adults violate their Bill of Rights. Your policy repeatedly refers to the American Library Association, and clearly you don't care about sexually explicit books. So I'm going to read from a few that as of 10 a.m. today, they were in your school library. If there's any kids, I tried to tell the parents with kids to take them out. But this speech is approved because you approved it by purchasing it. So all boys aren't blue. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. But this was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. And he was large. I had previously talked to someone who clearly enjoyed it, but he had been enjoying anal sex before I ever came along. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. I'm sorry, this speech, they've all signed off on, so I'm going to continue. I'm sorry. You should be more mad that our minor children are reading this. So please, can you ask her to be quiet in the gallery? He began his stroking motion. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with pain. He didn't last long inside of me, thankfully. He gave me a kiss before he pulled out. I didn't stay long, nor did I masturbate after. Now, the next book I'm going to read is interesting because it's about a teacher sleeping with a student and then helping the student cheat on a test by saying, oh, winking at him and sending him to her purse to get the test questions. It's called Boy Toy. This is in your school district. And I have handouts with just 5 books that I looked up this morning. When I woke up, my pajamas were sticky and wet. At first, I thought I'd wet the bed. But then I realized I sneaked into the bathroom to clean it up, then changed into fresh pajamas. I balled up the old ones and jammed them deep into the hamper, hoping that Mom wouldn't notice. It was tough to focus in history that day. I felt like Mrs. Sherman could tell that I dreamt about her. I imagined Mrs. Sherman standing up at her desk while it was just the 2 of us in the classroom, unbuttoning her blouse slowly, letting it slide down her shoulders and arms like water in a pool or a bath, and then reaching around to unfasten her bra. So either you all are perfectly fine with all of this and tax dollars spending it, and Mrs. Vedder, you're apparently okay with the American Library Association.
Time is up. This time, Adam Roger Ellithorpe.
Press your button.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I wish it were under better circumstances, but I'm coming to the board today to ask for your help. I was told I'm not permitted to discuss anything that is currently under active investigation, so I will speak generally despite the fact that CMCSS is not currently investigating what happened to my daughter. But we will allow due process in the hopes that you all are taking the appropriate actions to prevent this from happening to someone else's child. Instead, today I want to speak with you about student safety and the general investigations that occur. I didn't really want to be up here tonight. I think most parents would agree that we'd much rather just trust that our kids are safe at school and go about our lives. But right now I can't say that I feel that way. What happened to my child should never happen in any classroom. I understand there's an investigation going on. I understand there are procedures, but what's been just as difficult as the incident itself is everything that comes after, or honestly, what hasn't come after. There's been silence. My daughter's situation has been known about since March 9th. That's not yesterday. That's not last night. That's enough time for someone to stand up and say, we see this, we take it seriously, here's what we're going to do. And instead, families are left trying to piece together on their own, and I've come to learn we're not the only family who has experienced this treatment in this district. We shouldn't have to dig for answers when it comes to our kids. There's something else that really needs to be said. Children may be questioned about serious situations without their parents even knowing or being privy to. I want you to hear this clearly, that is not okay. If a child is dealing with something serious, upsetting, or something they don't fully understand, parents need to be involved. Not later, not after the fact. My daughter or any other child shouldn't have to carry that alone. And parents shouldn't be the last ones to know. That's not how you build trust with families. That's not how you build trust in this community. That's how you break it. And right now, my trust and faith in the district to do the right thing for my children is shattered. We send our kids to these schools every day, believing they're going to be safe, that the adults in charge are going to do the right thing when something isn't. That belief depends on honesty. It depends on communication. It depends on people being willing to step forward when something serious happens. That's you, this school board. Right now, I feel like that's missing, and silence says a lot about this board. Even when nothing is being said, it feels like parents are being intentionally kept in the dark and that protecting the district's image comes before protecting the kids. That's a hard thing to sit with as a parent. This isn't just about my child anymore. Since this came out, other families have reached out and shared their concerns. Some have said their kids were uncomfortable before this. Some have said they've been more comfortable after. Speaking up and hearing those voices and what happens is what matters. Those voices have been ignored. There were signs before this. Were they taken seriously? They were not. Were they handled quietly? They were. If students were moved, classes changed, situations arose over a teacher, and concerns were raised, if families weren't told, that's a problem. If these situations didn't end up in an employee file, that's a problem. And it's one that deserves real attention. That is why transparency matters so much. This is why timing matters. This is why leadership matters. And right now we are dealing with a broken leadership that I am standing in front of. And I'll be honest right now, it doesn't feel like that we're seeing that leadership. When something this serious happens, families need to know the process is fair. They need to know that influenced by relationships or internal connections, otherwise people start to question everything. And right now there are a lot of questions that this community wants answers to. I am asking this board to step up, say something, not in a statement that gets passed around, but in a way families can actually hear it in this community. These tax-paying dollars is what gives you jobs and gives you the rights to be here. Make it clear that parents will be notified. Make it clear that student safety comes first every time. At the end of the day, this is really simple. If kids don't feel safe, they don't learn. If parents don't trust the district, that relationship is gone. Our kids deserve to feel safe when they walk into school. They deserve adults who action when something isn't right. They deserve a system that listens. Right now, this community is watching every move that you make and let you know that the eyes are upon you board members, but in a way that shows every parent here that childs matter, because if our kids aren't safe, nothing else matters.
Amanda Frost.
Hey y'all, I'm not going to start with formal introductions at this point since most of you already know who I am. I'm from here, graduated from Central in 2011, back when we walked in the rain and occasionally had to fight an angry goose just to get to class. I've seen the good and the bad that comes out of that area, and I know some of those things are still happening today. I'm not speaking as someone that on the outside looking in. I'm speaking as someone who grew up, has family there, and now has children in this district. I know there are many here with pitchforks ready and wanting justice, no matter what that looks like, so I'm asking everyone in the audience, online, and officials in this room to hear me out. Because I took a step back and did a real self-inventory before grabbing my pitchfork and going after any one person, because it's not accountability and that's reaction. In my profession, we teach caregivers not to react, but to respond in ways that lead to better outcomes for all of those involved. In my studies, I've learned that when people are pushed into reacting without critical thinking, they become easier to manipulate. And reaction, especially without critical thinking, is exactly where the systems and those in power benefit the most. So instead of reacting, I'm asking for clarity, accountability, and facts. I want to address something I'm seeing in the community. There are many reasons that I have disagreed with some decisions a person has made. That's not new. That is not what I'm here to debate tonight. But what I'm seeing right now is a shift from accountability to misdirected blame. People are directing angers at individuals who are not directly responsible for the actions in question. And that's not accountability. Again, that's a reaction. Responsibility belongs with the person who caused the harm. We cannot be claiming to seek justice for children while also assigning blame in ways that are not grounded in actual responsibility. Right now, we do not have proof that the district knows about any of this stuff. Admin, yes. District, no. So I'm not here to call for resignations based on association. What I'm asking for is consistency. From what has been publicly observed so far, the initial steps taken appear to align with standard procedures in situations like this: removal from environment, placement away from students, and ongoing investigation. That process exists for a reason, and that standard should apply the same way in every single case, regardless of who is involved. One of my biggest concerns right now is student safety and how situations involving serious boundary violations are handled. I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying that I'm not angry. I'm downright livid, because this is not theoretical. These are real children. 1 in 4 girls and women will experience sexual harm in their lifetime. Too often it starts just like this, with a boundary being crossed, with an adult in a position of trust, and with a moment that should have been taken seriously from the very beginning. Why has there been so much silence? Why has this been described as an accident instead of clearly condemning the behavior itself? Why are we hearing that the district cannot investigate until other investigations are done, when many of us know that is entirely inaccurate? Y'all have done it many times before. I also want to say this. I reached out to several of the elected individuals in this room, and I have not received a response at all. Honestly, that's disappointing, because I look up to some of you, actively look up to some of y'all. I also want to be clear about something when I say condemn the actions. I'm not asking for details from an active investigation. I'm not asking for anything that would compromise that process, but it's absolutely possible to say that certain actions are wrong and they are going to be taken seriously while an investigation is going. From the outside right now, it looks like with no statement is a statement. Silence sends a message, and I need you to understand how that message is being received by families. Because last month I stood here and I talked about how harm continues only when a small percentage of people are willing to speak up, while the majority stay silent. So I'm asking y'all directly, why are so many of y'all comfortably choosing silence again? Why is one of you choosing to threaten people involved because it looks bad on your campaign and party? The same person saying, let's go ahead and get this part over with. I thought protecting children was nonpartisan. Why are there employees at many levels identifying more with the judge on the Young Thug Rico's case with a "who told you that" and less condemning the actions? I'm going to finish with this. The person responsible for harm is not always the one we are warned about, and that should concern every single one of us. If we are serious about protecting children, then we need to stop focusing on who we are told to fear and start paying attention to what is actually happening, not just what we are told to fear, not whoever is the most convenient to blame, because once again, it wasn't a drag or trans person.
All right, this time we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion from Ms. Berry, second from Mr. Garland. Any discussion? Okay, please open the vote. No, push the, one of them, yeah. All right, is everybody satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. Motion carries. Okay, policy monitoring, EL5.
Board, please find in your board packet information on Executive Limitation 5, Financial Administration. This executive limitation has 12 compliance expectations to ensure the Director of Schools shall not cause nor allow fiscal jeopardy or a material deviation from the annual budget. All revenues are scheduled to be spent in accordance with the approved budget. No funds have been borrowed without approval, nor have funds been expended from the fund balance without prior authorization. The actual ending fund balance will always be greater than 3%. Payrolls are processed per the published calendar, and all other obligations are paid in a timely manner. Purchases are made consistent with state and district procurement codes, and sufficient internal controls are in place as documented in annual financial audits. Updates regarding revenue collections, rising costs, and capital projects are provided to the board through work sessions. To conclude, any proposed changes to the budget are approved by both the board and county commission, and quarterly financial reports are provided to both the board and county commission. Chairman Lanier, this concludes Executive Limitation 5.
Okay, any discussion? Is there a motion? Motion to approve? Okay. Motion from Mr. Mabry, second from Mr. Griffey. Any discussion? Please open the vote. Is everyone satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. Motion carries. Okay, EL12, rezoning.
Please find in your board packet information on Executive Limitation 12, rezoning. This executive limitation has 3 compliance expectations. As demographics and populations shift, the Director of Schools shall not fail to recommend and implement rezoning decisions to include equitable distribution of resources to all affected schools. The project team was championed by the Director of Schools, written policy, public feedback was received, and public hearings were held. The initial zoning recommendation for Freedom Elementary School was shared with the board on December 12, 2023. The final recommendation to implement the plan was presented January 2, 2024. The zoning plan was approved by the board January 22, 2024. The plan for Freedom Elementary School was reviewed again with a public hearing on January 13th, 2026, and approved by the board January 29th, 2026. Phase 2 will be implemented with the opening of Freedom Elementary in August 2026. Chairman Lanier, this concludes Executive Limitation 12.
Okay. Motion. Okay. Mr. Garland motions. Mr. Mabry, or motions. Mr. Mabry seconds. Any discussion? Okay, please open the vote. Is everyone satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. Motion carries. All righty, this time comments from Fort Campbell School Liaison Officer.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Luna Vetter. I am pleased to share several upcoming initiatives focused on supporting our military families and students. First, on this Friday, March 27th at 11 a.m., our garrison commander Commander Sergeant Major Jeffers will host our EFMP Town Hall and Resource Fair at the Cole Park Commons on Fort Campbell. This event is a vital space for families to share their stories and concerns to get a direct assistance they need to thrive. So our EFMP is a program that we have for any students with special needs, autism, any type of special needs that our military-connected students have. We're having a resource fair, and we're inviting the community. We're inviting different vendors, ABA therapists there to provide resources, and we're also inviting the school counselors to come and see the needs and how we can partner with the school district to ensure that these students are getting assistance they need, but also how we can partner with teachers and counselors to aid in their success. As we look ahead in the month of April, month of the military child, we are excited to have our service members out in the community supporting several of our CMCSS schools as we celebrate the resilience of our youth. We invite the entire community to join us on April 15th on our Purple Up Day, wearing purple in solidarity and appreciation for our military-connected students. Lastly, I want to thank you, Dr. Luna Vetter, and CMCSS JROTC program for their participation in our annual START meeting, which was last month. Because of your unwavering commitment to our military-connected youth, we're ensuring that while their lives may be in transition, their education remains steady. Thank you for being a defining difference.
Thank you. CMCEA representative?
Good evening. I want to begin with something simple. Working together works. It works in classrooms, it works in school systems, and it works for students. Across Tennessee right now, major decisions are being made about education funding and the future discretion of our public schools, or direction of our public schools. The proposed state budget includes significant growth for voucher expansion. While public schools, which serve more than 90% of Tennessee's children, continue doing the daily work of teaching, supporting, and preparing nearly 1 million students. Budgets reflect priorities. As local leaders, our responsibility is clear. Ensure that public schools remain strong, stable, and fully supported, because they are the backbone of our communities. And strength doesn't just come from funding levels, it comes from partnerships. Teaching conditions are student learning conditions. When instructional time is protected, when workloads are thoughtfully structured, and when evaluation systems reflect real classroom practice, students benefit. Those decisions are strongest when they are shaped by the people who work in our schools every day and by the local governing boards who understand their communities. This is not about control, it is about practicality. The people closest to students see how policies land. They understand where implementation will be smooth and where unintended barriers might arise. Including their voices early builds clarity, trust, and stability. Strong schools are built on strong relationships between teachers and students, between families and schools, and between boards and educators. As we continue navigating state conversations and making local decisions, I hope we remain grounded in what we know works. Invite educators to the table, protect meaningful collaboration, prioritize public schools. Because when we work together, truly together, it works. Thank you.
Okay, county commissioners? Nope. Elijah? Nothing? Okay. Board members? Ms. Berry?
I just want to say that I will not be silent. I will speak up and out. If there's injustice, I will fight for what's right. And let me say, I don't fear any man. You see where I'm coming from? I'm called to do what I do. And I'm going to stand up for children. I'm going to stand up for educators. And I'm going to stand up for this community. I am not afraid. I don't care what political party you are associated with. I'm concerned about children and their safety, and I will fight for what's right for children. And I want to say that I've gotten lots of calls. Yes, there is an investigation, and we do have to follow the law. And we don't want to mess up anything by intervening. Let the law take care of their job. That's what they get paid for. And they will make the right decisions after the investigation has been completed. We cannot overstep the law. And you can call us whatever you want to, but we can't mess this up. The other thing that I want to say, it's not easy being on the board. But I'm going to do what's not only best for children, but what's best for humanity. You know, I believe this board has been as transparent as we can be. We have been honest. We have not lied or deceived you. If you understand what our job is, we have to follow the law. I also want to say, not only do I support justice, but as John Lewis said, I will make good trouble. I will be a thorn in the flesh if it's something that's not right for children. Don't be against us. Get under us and behind us and support us as we follow the law. Policy is put in place and we have to follow it. I don't mean to preach, but I will preach if I have to. Also, this district has to remain strong and sturdy no matter what comes and goes. Know that it's a hard moment for all of us. And no matter the level that's showing up right now, even in those moments, we have to still do our jobs. Dr. Vetter, staff, teachers, everyone has to do their job. There's no need of us slacking off now. We got to finish strong for the children. I have a lot more I could say, but I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Mr. Mayberry?
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Berry's sentiment that not one of us would be here if we weren't loving, caring, and concerned about children in our district. I do want to explain the law for a second in regards to any type of employee investigation or student investigation. The law puts the school board as an appellant body within, and I've explained this privately to several people in the audience, but the school board, according to the law, is part of the appellant process for any employee or student. We've had many students since I've been on the school board appeal a decision that was made at a lower level. It comes before us and we would have that final say. It's the same thing with the employees. Nobody in the community wants us to speak out about anything that's an ongoing investigation because we're a part of that appellant body. And if there was an appeal to us, if we were to speak out publicly, we would have to recuse ourselves. So the community has elected us for that purpose within the law. But I want to assure everybody that we absolutely are concerned, and I speak for myself, though I know our board sentiment is the same, but we absolutely, children is our number one concern. But in general, anytime this happens, this is consistent in the past, and it will be consistent in the future. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Director of Schools report.
Board members, as we head into the final quarter of the 25-26 school year, I would like to thank our educators, administrators, and staff members who are keeping the focus on students. It is the amazing people in this district who are making a difference every day to prepare our children for college, career, and to be good humans. In preparation for our annual budget presentation next month, we will continue to prioritize our employees. Over 85% of the district's budget proposal remains committed to our employees. On a final note, there will be a 3-day weekend next week for Good Friday and Easter. I pray everyone is able to celebrate with family and friends and take time to reflect on what is important. This concludes my remarks.
Okay, and with that, we're adjourned.